Theo's car needed a $400 repair on a Tuesday in February. He didn't have $400 sitting anywhere. What he had was a checking account with $61 in it, 4 days until payday, and a car he needed to get to work the next morning. Here's what actually happened, and it's worth walking through slowly, because this is the part people rarely talk about honestly. The repair shop wanted payment before releasing the car, so Theo put it on a credit card at 24% interest. Then, because his checking account was already thin, 2 automatic payments bounced before his next paycheck cleared, adding $70 in overdraft fees on top of the repair. A $400 problem became a $530 problem in about 6 days, not because Theo made bad decisions, but because he had zero buffer standing between an ordinary expense and a cascade of extra costs. This is the actual unglamorous cost of having no emergency fund. It's not really about the emergency. It's about everything that happens in the gap when you don't have one: the interest, the fees, the second and third expense that only exist because the first one had nowhere to land. If you're watching this and thinking, sure, but I genuinely don't have spare money to save, this video isn't going to tell you to skip your coffee or cancel a streaming service you actually use. That advice assumes hidden slack that a lot of people simply don't have. And frankly, it's part of why so much emergency fund content feels disconnected from anyone actually living close to the edge financially. What this video actually gives you is a specific 60-day sequence built entirely around redirecting money you already have moving through your life, not finding new money that doesn't exist. By the end of this video, you're going to have an exact 60-day path to a real working emergency fund, and it starts today, regardless of what your income looks like right now. Let's start with the concept underneath this. An emergency fund doesn't get built from spare money. Almost nobody has spare money sitting around waiting to be saved. If they did, it would already be saved. An emergency fund gets built from redirected money, cash that's currently moving through your life in one direction, deliberately rerouted in a different direction, often in amounts small enough that you barely notice the redirection day to day. This is a completely different problem than find more income, and it's a solvable one, starting today at whatever income level you're actually at. The distinction matters more than it sounds like it should, because find more income is a much harder, slower, less certain problem. It depends on your job, your market, your available hours. Redirect money already moving depends on nothing except a sequence of specific small decisions, which is exactly why it's the one that can start in the next 10 minutes rather than the next few months. So here are the 5 moves, mapped across 60 days. Notice that none of them require earning more money. They require restructuring the money already moving through your accounts. Move 1. Days 1 through 3, the true zero baseline audit. Before anything else, you need one honest number. Exactly how much money is left after every bill, every subscription, every recurring payment clears. If you changed absolutely nothing about your current spending, not an estimate, not a budget you intend to follow, the actual number, pulled directly from your last 30 days of bank statements, every debit, every automatic payment, laid out and subtracted from what came in. For Theo, this number was $11 a week, genuinely thin, but not zero. The entire 60-day plan gets built on this real number, not on an aspirational one, because plans built on numbers you wish were true collapse within the first difficult week. This audit isn't about judgment. It's just arithmetic, done honestly, one time. So everything after it is built on solid ground instead of guesswork. Move 2, days 4 through 7, the auto redirect setup. Whatever your true zero number is, set up one automatic transfer on payday for a portion of it, even if that portion is $5. The amount matters far less than the mechanism. An automatic transfer removes the decision point entirely. It happens before the money reaches your spending awareness, which is exactly why it survives weeks that willpower alone wouldn't. Theo set his at $8 a week, transferred automatically the same day his paycheck landed, into an account he didn't have a debit card for, specifically so it wasn't one tap away from being spent. That last detail matters more than it seems. A savings account you can access instantly, from the same app you check daily, tends to get raided the first time an ordinary temptation shows up. Friction, even small friction, is doing real work here. Move 3, days 8 through 30, the windfall-capture rule. This is the highest impact move in the entire 60 days, and it's the one almost nobody uses deliberately. Any money that arrives outside your normal, expected paycheck, a tax refund, a rebate, a reimbursement, a small gift, cash back from a purchase, even loose change from selling something you don't need goes entirely into the emergency fund, with zero exceptions carved out for just this once. Windfalls feel like free money precisely because they weren't budgeted for, which makes them the easiest money to redirect without feeling any change in your day-to-day spending at all. Theo received a $42 utility refund in week 3 that he'd normally have folded into groceries without a second thought. Redirected entirely, it did more for his fund in 1 day than 3 weeks of the $8 auto transfer combined. The rule works precisely because it costs nothing. That was already accounted for. It's money your budget never expected to see, so redirecting it doesn't create the felt sense of sacrifice that cutting an existing expense would. Move 4. Days 31 through 45. The temporary expense freeze. This is not a permanent lifestyle change, and it's important that it isn't, because permanent restriction tends to collapse under its own weight, usually right around the point life gets stressful again. For exactly 2 weeks, identify one single recurring cost that can be paused, not canceled forever, a subscription put on hold, a service temporarily downgraded, one specific category of spending frozen for this window only. The freeze works because it's bounded and temporary, which makes it psychologically survivable in a way that cut this forever rarely is. Theo paused a $19 streaming subscription for 2 weeks specifically, redirecting exactly that amount, and reactivated it afterward without guilt, because the freeze had a clear, pre-agreed end date. Knowing exactly when something ends changes how it feels to go without it. A 2-week freeze reads as a deliberate choice, while an open-ended cut reads as deprivation, even when the dollar amount is identical. Move 5, days 46 through 60, the acceleration checkpoint. Around day 30, look at your actual progress against your true zero number from move 1. If the auto redirect and windfall rule have created any margin at all, even a small one, this is the moment to nudge the automatic transfer up slightly. Not dramatically, just enough to reflect that the plan is working better than the original conservative estimate. Theo's fund had grown faster than expected by day 30, largely from the windfall rule, so he nudged his weekly auto transfer from $8 to $12 for the remaining month, a small adjustment that compounded meaningfully by day 60. The checkpoint exists specifically so the plan can adjust upward based on actual evidence, rather than either staying artificially conservative the whole 60 days or overcommitting from an optimistic guess on day 1. By day 60, Theo's numbers looked like this: roughly $70 from the baseline auto transfer, $42 from a single captured windfall, $38 from the 2-week freeze, and a final push from the acceleration checkpoint landing him at just over $200. Not the full 3 to 6 month emergency fund eventually needed, but a real working buffer that would have completely absorbed the $400 car repair's secondary costs, even if it couldn't cover the full repair outright. The overdraft fees, the interest accumulating from a rushed credit card decision, that's specifically what $200 of buffer prevents, even before the fund is fully built out. This is worth naming directly. $200 doesn't solve every emergency. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to break the specific cascade, where one ordinary problem becomes 3 expensive ones, purely because there was nothing standing in the gap. The next 60-day cycle builds on top of this one, and the one after that, the fund doesn't stop growing on day 60. The structure just keeps running. Now, on a base that already exists, instead of starting from zero again. None of this makes Theo, or anyone in a similar position, behind or irresponsible. Most emergency fund advice is written by people who've never had a true zero number this thin, which is exactly why so much of it feels disconnected from reality for people who are actually stretched. This is a sequencing and redirection problem, solvable with structure, not a discipline problem requiring more willpower than anyone reasonably has left after a difficult month. If anything, the fact that Theo built $200 of real buffer on a true zero number of $11 a week is evidence of exactly how much structure can do, even when income genuinely can't stretch any further on its own. So here's the condensed 60-day recap. If you want the fast version, days 1 through 3, find your real true zero number from actual bank statements. Days 4 through 7, set up one automatic transfer, however small, on payday. Days 8 through 30, capture every windfall entirely, with 0 exceptions. Days 31 through 45, freeze one specific recurring cost temporarily, with a clear end date. Days 46 through 60, check your progress and nudge the transfer up slightly if the numbers support it. If you're starting this today, Here's the only thing that actually matters in the next 10 minutes. Pull your real bank statement, find your actual true zero number, and set up one automatic transfer for any amount, even $5, scheduled for your very next payday. Everything else in this sequence builds on that single first move. Theo's story isn't really about a car repair, or about being broke, or about being disciplined enough to sacrifice something big. It's about what happens when redirected money, however small, is given 60 specific days and a structure to move through, instead of being left to a vague, someday intention that never gets a start date. The good news is that this entire plan works at any income level, because it was never built around having extra money in the first place. It was built around the money that's already moving through your life every single week, redirected on purpose, one specific move at a time. You don't need to be less broke to start this. You need your real number, one automatic transfer, and 60 days, and all three of those are available to you today, exactly as your finances actually are right now.